All right, today I'm done with mark and recapture. I've posted the data. I'm going to give you your assignment. What you've got are 2 bits of data. You have 2 sites. You've got E-Town data. That's been collected behind the school since 1992. So you will see on the data sheet, it's already posted on Blackboard. You'll see like fall 92, spring 92, fall 93, spring 94, on down the line, spring and fall, spring and fall, spring and fall. Those are the semesters that I've been trapping there. Fall semester, we typically collect the data in the fall. The number is our population index or estimate. The spring, January, February, March, it's usually April. That's the spring data. The number is the number of animals we caught per acre. So you've got many data points there. I've been doing that for 20 some years behind the school there, kind of between EC3, the public library, and the E-Town campus. The other bit is what we collected this semester. We'll call it the Sonora site. I've collected this semester's data here only. So that is your data, and all the data is, it's the number of animals per acre. Now, for this site, the number of traps we had set was a little small. It was 25. I normally set 50. And the sampling area was smaller, roughly half an acre. So the number we got for the number of mice in our trapping area was about 5 mice, but that's per half acre. So to compare it to the Elizabethtown site, double it. We'll make the assumption that if we double the area, it would double the population. I don't know how valid it is, but that's what we're going to do. So 10. In the Sonora site, we had, this is fall 2020. Whoops, 2020. We had 10 mice per acre. That's the only data point we have. E-Town, you have multiple sites. There's 15 or 20 semesters I've got data for. Now, your assignment, you got the easy part, man. I've been out here getting these little ticks or turkey mites, whatever you call them. I'm loaded. Usually I use you students as kind of the indentured labor and check the traps, and I just drink my coffee. It's been much harder. So it hasn't been too bad for you, and it's actually been kind of fun. But now that we've got the data, this is going to be your assignment. You've got 2 options. 1, you can take the E-Town data over time. You see, 1 data point is useless with this type of data. Our estimate was 5 per acre. Okay, so what? Kind of need to compare it to something. Hey, squeaky. So if you just want to use the E-Town data only, that's already posted on Blackboard. I think it says Elizabethtown data. You can use that. And what I want you to do, if you decide to just use the E-Town data, you've got multiple semesters. So one of the things you're going to have to do, and I'll follow up with a printed version of what I want you to do, you're going to draw a figure, a diagram, a graph. X-axis down here, you have, we'll call it time or the date. You have like fall 92, spring 93, fall, spring, fall, spring, fall, spring, fall, spring, fall, spring. I don't know however many data points you have. The y-axis is your population size or your population index that I calculated using that Schnabel or repeated, Lincoln-Peterson repeated mark and recapture. That's our population size. So what you'll have here is a population size, each of the semesters, kind of connect the dots. Something like that. What you'll see, of course, because I've done this a bit, the population varies tremendously with small mammals. So part of your grade is just print the figure out. I don't want it hand-drawn. In fact, I won't take it hand-drawn. The hard part of this assignment is probably just the learning curve for figuring out a plotting program. You can do this in Windows or Excel, and that's what you can upload. And I'll be able to read it pretty good. But you do the figure, do the plot or the graph in Excel or or Windows has a little drop down for your data where you can put in a figure as well. It's basically Excel. That's part of your data. Make sure it's labeled and I know what's going on, connect the dots. The second part, the population in E-Town has gone from, I think, nearly 0 some semesters to, I think we had a high of about 28 mice per acre. That's a lot of mice per acre. It varies a lot. You're coming up with a hypothesis to try and explain why this population changes a lot. It's a hypothesis. It's a guess. So if it's backed up reasonably well with some background material, I can't mark it wrong because I really don't know for sure why it varies like this. What you want to look at, and I'll post a couple of articles or references in with your material in the Mark and Recapture lab folder. So that'll get you a starting point. But you can go online, do searches, try and come up with a reasonable explanation of, why is it really low this year and it got really high the next year, the next semester, or the next season. A variety of things affect small mammal populations. One could be, was it really, really cold that winter? Lots of ice storms and freezing temperatures kill the suckers. Was it really dry in the summer? And then the plants didn't produce a lot of seeds. There wasn't much food. They starved. In E-Town, there's all kinds of suburban neighborhoods around it. Did a cat lady move in, or 2 of them, and their cats were out there eating the mice? One semester we caught a weasel in a trap. Well, weasels eat mice. That year we didn't have many mice. There's a number of things that could affect the population. Just support it with some literature and cite your references when you answer the question. I'm just talking about a paragraph or so. Your hypothesis shouldn't be much, it doesn't have to be much more than a paragraph, but cite your references. If you say it's due to the weather, well, do you have some reference that weather actually affects small mammal populations? That sort of thing. That's number one. The other possibility, the other assignment is a comparison. You've got data for E-Town, you got a population estimate for Sonora. These are quite different areas. On the assignment, I'll give you kind of the latitude and longitude of each site. You could go to Google Maps and look at some satellite views to get an idea of what it's like. I'll pan the camera around when I'm done here. This is a Sonora site. I don't know if I'll get the E-Town site, but they're quite different, and you make a comparison. So for Sonora, we've only got one data point, so it's 10 mice per acre. E-Town varies. You got all those semesters, which to use. I would take all of the falls, because it's fall semester, and just average them together. It's going to give a much more solid number. I don't know what it is, but take every fall, 92, fall 94, 95, whatever you got, all the falls, so it's apples to apples, and take the average. And I don't know what it is. Let's say, I don't know, it's 8.6 mice per acre. I don't know what it will be. You'll have to calculate that. That one, I also want to figure, but probably the best way to present that one is Sonora, E-Town, do some kind of maybe bar chart, because it's just really 2 points, 2 areas you're comparing in the population size on the y-axis. I don't know which will be higher, I really don't know. But that's your comparison. And again, write up a hypothesis explaining if they're different, why they're different. If they're the same, why they're the same. Again, E-Town is surrounded by houses, man. It's just it's basically old shelter belts. You got tennis courts on one side, EC3, the library, roads all around it, ECC's campus. It's just a little spot. This place, let me pan the camera around. This place is, it's what they call it, secondary succession. It's a lot of mature maple trees. These suckers are probably 60 years old. There's some oaks in here, a few cedars, much more diverse habitat. There's old overgrown field here. There's a little bit of feed plots over there. There's cedars out that way. This is and it's a much bigger area. Again, I'll put down the latitude and longitude, but this area, relatively speaking, it's a pretty large area of forest. It's all surrounded by agricultural land, but it's much larger sized habitat than the E-Town area. So you can make that comparison. That's all you'll have to do. So, like I said, it's been more work for me than you. All you'll have to turn in, you pick one or two. E-Town, plot the changes in the population over time from like 92 to I think I have up to 2019. Give me a hypothesis as to why it might change that way. Support it with a few references. So read a bit, go online. I'll put a couple articles up. For number two, you can choose to do that one instead. So it's one or the other. You don't do both. For this one, compare the E-Town population size, its average in the fall, to the Sonora population size, and try and, write your hypothesis why they might be different. Weather's pretty much the same, at least in a macro scale here in E-Town. So I'd probably emphasize, the environment's a little different. But that's the idea. I'll get this posted up on Blackboard tonight, and I'll follow it with just kind of a written summary of what I just said. Take care. Good luck.